Welcome to Millennia, fellow entities of all the coils, be ye man, woman, or child, be ye spirit creature or demon, be ye native migrator or invader. Welcome, I am your host, the Millennium Mailman, and I'll be here world building for you long after you've begun to acclimate or fit in. Now sit back, relax, and let's begin the day. Alright, so it's a mild Monday, so I'm just pretty much going to tell you the topic of the week. Topic of the week is going to be therapy, and I don't agree with it. It's just the debater in me, so I don't agree with therapy. I don't think as many people in therapy with a therapist should be with therapists. I think therapists mainly and majority are ripping off the job title of counselors. I think more people just need counseling than they need therapist counseling and all of the joint therapies that comes with. I think everyone who thinks they are so far gone that they need therapy is wrong. Therapy and the work and efforts of therapists are for people far worse than most people think. So I think most therapists are ripping off the general populace per se and pushing proper good counselors out of the workforce, because counseling was made to be done with counselors, not therapists. It's in the name. So anyone going to a therapist as their first resource is just really criminalizing counseling and real counseling with counselors out of the market. So that's going to be the running theme of the week's conversations from your lovely devil's advocate from the Hell's chapter of Beyond. And yeah, so today I'm going to keep it light. I'm going to go over the talking points of that. And if you want to hear or know more, keep on watching for the rest of the week on that. But yeah, before I really get into it, just let you know to leave a like if you agree, comment your thoughts and opinions in the space down there below, and do dare to share, as I'll be posting more on these thoughts and ideals from the world of millennia faster than the gears can turn. So yeah, therapy isn't really a good thing, and 90% of therapists should be like 100% unemployed because they don't have any actual work. Most therapists on the market right now are just in the reciprocal area of constantly going through returning visits and such, whereas counselors, the therapists in counseling don't really have a necessary marker of being able to get you out and gone. Counselors would. So like the big problem with therapy is that it just turns into a reciprocal cycle of never ending talking through troubles they're not actually going to fix with you. Whereas counselors, they do have a goal when you walk in. There's something you're working on and actually going to fix. And there is an end point. Not the same with therapists. Therapists kind of have to constantly have you in that cycle of never stopping the returns. Counselors know they've done a good job and are finished with you when the goal of their talking with you has been achieved. Once you figure it out, you get that plan and guidance. It's done. Vice therapist, the way they do makes it seem like all they care about is your money. A lot of them do only care about your money, and it can really feel like a never-ending loop when you go with a therapist, because they can't really do all their things as they want and need and are directed to in their capacity as a therapist, because they're acting in the capacity of a counselor who can't be as definitive as a therapist naturally would. So, again, talking point one, the therapy isn't really a good thing. And most of them should be out of a job because they don't have legitimate work. And that stems from the origin of therapy and the profession of therapist. And it really stems from, and its relation to criminal mentality, because therapist is really a scientist, and the main goal of a therapist in their scientific research was to fix the criminal disease of criminal thoughts and mentalities. The therapist was there to deep dive into the difference between a criminal and an average person and literally talk it out, do therapy, and come up with options and secondhand sources that they could figure out to utilize to fix people, because anyone going to a therapist was definitely wrong. Something was screwed up about them to the point of being like, hey, this person needs help. They cannot do it themselves, so we're here allowing you to conduct lab rat experiments on these people to see what makes them tick and figure out what the hell you can possibly do to make it work. So there's that. And the second margin that really identifies and should make it clear that therapy isn't a good thing for good people. It's more of a punishment for good people who know the path they want to be on and should be on. The second thing that just proves that would be the fact of what is therapy and therapist biggest infamy comes from. Like the biggest infamy of NASA and all the space travel is they mess up. They mess up and many people die, but the whole end all be all goal was to make it to space. The biggest infamy of dynamite was it being used as a weapon, but the goal was, yes, to destroy, and destruction was what it was good for, so they destroyed and lost lives in the process. But it won the Nobel Prize because it had a purpose for good. The biggest infamy, and I'd say in the Navy, as I'm from the Navy, at least in the nuclear divisions department, was that you cuss and swear and act violent as a sailor. That whole reputation in the Navy was sourced from the nuclear division, where the nuclear operators would be stressed from all their studies and then take it out on the people in the community in the town down in Florida. So when that whole idea of cuss and swear like a sailor here in the States really comes from that aspect of, hey, you bring down the whole community down, but it was their fault. And the biggest infamy from therapy and therapist comes from, I'm blanking on the time frame right here, but back when it became popular here in the United States and certain parts of English culture was when they kept sending women into psych wards, when they would administer mostly negative reinforcement actions upon people who were not in their right state of mind, who they would deem insane or mentally incompetent or inconstant. They would force one way or another that person to change the same way they would lab rats to act a certain way. So, yeah, it's more so the origin of therapy being rooted in their goal being to fix the specific wrong, and their biggest infamy being about their target demographic that they actually acted upon being quite literally the oppression of women. So I don't think therapy and therapist, to at least to be found or acting or working with them and having them work with you, or in all honesty working on you, is actually a good thing for good people. I think it's a good thing for bad people because you're in with a therapist. When the therapist says you're good and okay to society, you're good and okay for society. But being and working with a therapist, not really a good thing. If you actually consider yourself a good person or anything other like that, if you think you're a good person, you think the person is ultimately good, they have goals, the right ambitions and everything, but they're just sad, mad, whatever it is, they shouldn't be with a therapist. They should be in counseling with a counselor who will actually give them goals and resources to get on the right track and reach their goals that they identify, and steer away from whatever or however they're acting that they don't want to be. But when you really put on and layer on that aspect of them working with a therapist whose entire credentials is all about how they need and should go about changing people, I don't think that's a good thing. Not for good people. It's a good thing for bad people. Not for regular Joes and Joes. But yeah, it is a mild Monday, so I'm gonna try to keep that conversation light, and I'll probably end it here. I'm gonna just end it there. And if you want to hear more about it, we have more days of the week to really talk to you. So, but yeah, I'm gonna just leave it there. If you agree with me, like the video. If you have something to say, put it down in the comments section down below. I'll respond on Mailmen Monday, where I respond to other people's comments to any of the videos. And if you think it should be talked about and discussed more, actively go about sharing it so we can get this conversation started on any or all the platforms that you so choose to. But yes, this has been but hey, that's just me. Oh man, I'm really screwing up the outro I had. Let me just look at it. But hey, that's just me, your Millennial Mailman, on this fine, mild Monday of conversation. Go ahead, leave that like, comment, share, subscribe if you care to, and I'll see you next time.